Hello there, everybody. Welcome to day 10 of the LJL Spring 2022 here on the LJL Officially Unofficial. My name is Middlecock, going to be hosting through you for all 4 games today, and I'm going to be joined for the first 2 by a couple of pretty talented individuals here in Initialize and Oak. How are you gents doing?
Very good. I actually thought you were going to name yourself, and then Oak and just leave me out to dry. Would have been actually where I was expecting you to go. I know what you like, Middlecott, so I was worried, but that was actually surprisingly nice.
Trying to keep it
really well, especially after that compliment.
Trying to keep it a little bit more professional now that I'm in the hoster role. I feel a bit more important over here on this side of the screen. How are you doing as well, man?
Side. Yeah, I'm always stuck on the right-hand side, so I know my place, and I'll just...
Look, do I have to sit in the middle between you two? Just keep you at arm's length. Just gonna make sure the two of you behave. What is this?
It's got to be done.
Honestly, bring you in. This is the result.
Make sure that not too many shenanigans go down. But gents, LJL are about at the halfway point as it stands, and if we could have our standings up very briefly, it's looking pretty tight at certain parts of the table. Other parts of the table are a little bit more open. But the games that we're going to be having today, I think are going to be pretty impactful for how everything turns out.
Yeah, it's pretty
very much are. Oh, we both went for that one. You go for Oak and take this one, because we're both very excited about this, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty spicy just because we're sat right now where there are 3 teams in second place, which means that now we're waiting for all of them to step up versus their opponents for today and the upcoming days. And, you know, today, first set of games specifically, Sengoku versus AXIZ, we're expecting Sengoku to win, whereas the second set of games is going to be a little bit more tight. So it's whether or not each team in that position where they've got 6 wins and 3 losses are able to make it through. So we'll be looking eagerly towards that.
We will do indeed.
I think for me as well, there is an element of we're beginning to see what looks to be our playoffs teams already, because I feel that while it's not set, unless we see major turnarounds coming into the kind of our super weeks in where the games get a little bit more condensed, a bit more intense from particularly the Hawks, I think probably the team that have most chance of doing that. V3 and Hawks are probably out, which means we've probably got our 6 teams already. There's a world of miracle runs. It's been done before in the LJL. It could be done again. Just look at DFM having gone from 0 to hero in the summer of 2021. They made it, not to 2021, 2020. I apologize. Go back 2 years now. But that means we've kind of got our 6 teams. DFM, at the minute, standing way above the rest. 3 games clear, looking pretty damn strong. We've got our 3 teams tied at 2 and at 6 and 3. My question then turns more towards Rascal Jester, more towards AXIZ. What can they do to push their ways up the standings and potentially prevent something like a miracle run? Because AXIZ have actually been in a bit of a downward spiral. Yeah. And that's the reason why I say, maybe I'm over-egging it by saying it's a miracle run from Hawks, because actually they're only 2 games set apart there. And while we get 3/4 of our teams going to playoffs, you don't want to be one of those 2 teams that don't make playoffs.
Not at all.
After a 2-0 first week, I kind of haven't shown the same level since. Fabulous. Lass.
Yeah, and I mean I'm a little bit biased for Sengoku, so we'll start with AXIZ first. Because they did something really unique last game, where they, after Smite changes, Yellow Yoshi hasn't had the best of times in top lane. So they brought in their sub Toll 2, he played a game of Shan, and they looked quite good. It was interesting. Cool. It's like, it was the start of the split again. And it's something that we weren't really expecting them to pull up, especially something as unique as Shan top. Hasn't really seen that much play outside of in the region outside of Toll 2. So something brand new, and played it off fairly well, and they looked pretty comfortable playing through a carry orientated top laner. So I'm wondering now, does this give them the opportunity for different draft options. If they opt into a more traditional draft format, are they going to put Yellow Yoshi back in, and are they going to look specifically for drafts where Toll 2 comes in and they go, okay, we're doing more of these carry-orientated top laners. Maybe a GP is going to pop up. So I'm excited to see, because actually, I think Yellow Yoshi's listed as the sub now, and Toll 2 is the main member on Game of Legends. So that's something that's like the first.
That is a fairly big shift, actually. Yeah.
That is potentially a little bit interesting, and it gives AXIZ a couple of these sort of different options in draft initialize. It means that they can pivot around a little bit more, and I think Sengoku are a team that you really do need to do that against, because they have been one of our stronger teams.
They have, and I think we all know where our eyes turn on this team, and part of it is, of course, to Jet in the mid lane, who's been an absolute monster, right up there with the best of our mids in the LJL. A bit of a surprise, honestly, coming in. But on the other side, it's Honey. Like, this guy debuted in the LJL on AXIZ in 2020 alongside a guy called Pooh. They were literally the 100-acre bot lane. It was amazing, but he couldn't get it rolling. And then he turns up the year after, absolutely smurfs it, highest DPM of any starting AD carry in the world at some points in the year. And he's been on Sengoku and continuing to look like one of the best AD carries we've got. And while Sangchu has been a real talent, what happens if Honey gets resources? What happens if Sangchu can't play the way he wants? I get worried.
And I think those worries are justified, right? Because it's been a rough road for AXIZ. It feels like at multiple times they've had spurts of inspiration so far this split. They've had moments where it's looked pretty good for them, but ultimately they are one of our lower half teams, and it has often been on Sangchu to be that carry. But with Toll 2 coming in, like we already talked about, Oak, feels like they've got another option, but he's going to be going up against Paz, who has also been looking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Paz just offers the perfect utility role for the double carry on his team, right? And I think whilst a lot of top laners seem to be loving the priority on stuff like the Gnar and the Graves, which we've seen so much of, and with, I've forgotten the item, but with top lane in its current state, Hullbreaker, that's the one.
I got you.
That's the one.
Literally, I swear that's what I swear that's what Playboy players are here for. Just like, can you remember the name of this item?
Can you remember the name of the
item?
item?
Yes, we can. Let me through my encyclopedic knowledge of all these things.
Well, if that was the case, initialized, why have we got Frostfire Gauntlet written on the production document? So.
That's a deep cut, and you know what? I see that point. Behind the scenes, there is in fact a document where we keep notes for games, and it's got in giant rainbow letters Frostfire Gauntlet, because once I forgot what it was called. Myself and Bass once spent 5 minutes trying to remember it.
Everyone's forgotten that item. It's Frozen Fist to me still. Like it's not changing.
Frozen Fist, yeah.
I think I had the excuse the Hullbreaker only came into meta a patch ago. That's my excuse.
Okay, well that's fair enough.
But yeah, with Hullbreaker being so strong, a lot of top laners aren't really interacting with each other too much, and this might be a limiting factor in Toll 2, because even with something like AXIZ, if you don't have the proper jungle support, which while Swamp has been very good in the past, he's not quite finding the success at the moment, and I think that's largely to do with Megamin, who is not been as big as a facilitator this season. Is that too harsh? I don't know. Really.
I think that's probably fair. And then sort of looking to Megamin, I think that's another one of these matchups which is going to be fairly interesting, because Jet has been a very aggressive player and has looked very strong initialize. I'm kind of worried for the AXIZ side of things here.
Yeah, because for Paz, we know that he's a great weak side top laner, so we're expecting bot side focus, and Megamin has unfortunately kind of followed on from where he was a little bit towards the end of last season. Wasn't as strong. Jet, Honey, 2 players, AXIZ need to be able to show up and deal with them.
Well, the avenue that they could potentially deal with them is through the pick and ban. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Middlecott. What a fantastic little throw there. Very pleased with that one. You can see the little smirk on his face. He was happy with that. That does leave us, however, to pick and ban here with AXIZ over on the blue side, Sengoku over on the red, and Oak. It's our first time touching the cast desk together. I'm very excited. A lot of very key bans. Caitlyn off the table for Honey and NT makes a lot of sense. They got rid of Jet and Silas. Karma for the priority. On the other side, we've seen what Sangchu has done with Zeri. Trendmane makes a lot of sense in the meta. Jin's out, the final ban, and something that Sangchu could well have used as well to get things rolling in that jungle.
So, because of these bans, I think it's very likely we're just going to see the Jinx, the Aphelios locked in. Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. It's cursed. Just because Sangchu and Honey have both been opting into these AD carries in the majority of situations. However, with Xin Zhao off the board, there are a couple of other priority junglers like the Hecarim, a great facilitator in the early game that Swamp is very eager, clearly, to opt into.
And this is also the way of the meta at the minute. If you leave both Aphelios and Jinx up, you just trade which one you want. Generally speaking, people have been favoring the Jinx because you start arranging the Aphelios at kind of level 9 or so with your rockets, etc., etc. But it has been a go-to. Jungle picks, that Hecarim has been rising in priority around the world. In fact, much to Middlecott's pleasure, I'm sure we've seen the Udyr returning a little bit. It feels like spring last year, Oak.
Yeah, and that's through itemization, right? The chem tech or chem tank item is so strong on him, and it makes you so tanky. He still does so much damage. They combine that with a Leona, which gives them such great early game pressure. But then the Ziggs comes in alongside of it, and I am surprised to see, or I'm excited to see where this Ziggs gets slotted into draft, because obviously mostly been put in the bot side. Maybe they've got some tech to handle the Aphelios and lane.
For sure, you've got the poke range. You've also got, of course, the combo between the double ultimates. All of that's really good. Taking down the Viego, I really like here as well, in the sense that you've got two people diving at you. Viego likes people diving at him because it means that you kill the first person diving, you can just turn around and dive right back with their own body attached to you.
Yeah, what great champions to swallow, right? Like you get that, especially Leona. I love when you draft this champion into Leona because you get access to her full rotation immediately off the bat, and it's so powerful for keeping fights going.
I'll add this in as well. I did go a little bit of hunting to make sure I wasn't having my mind deceive me. But Megamin did pick up the Ziggs once or twice last year as well. Got about an 8.3 KD on it. Of course, the Ziggs Leona was definitely a thing last season a little bit as well. So it's certainly a flex option. Megamin has shown the capability on it. We don't know what Sangchu would be like on it because, of course, we've not seen him on it, I don't believe. Unless, again, my mind is failing me, which is, always a possibility. It's like a sieve at points. At which point you kind of see there is some room there to move that around, as you were kind of saying.
And through these bans, we're seeing Toll 2 definitely get some dedicated carry bans taken off the board.
No split push.
The Akshan performance after his previous game, I'm not surprised to see it got to board. But they also get rid of Fiora, which could be leaning towards a tank.
That's a lot of top focus.
Yeah, wow. That could be leaning towards a tank for Sengoku. On the other side, we see Akali, signature pick for Jet, as well as a flex into top lane, and the Gwen taken away. So yeah, as you mentioned, a lot of top priority. And I'm wondering now what Sengoku lean into. And Ahri has definitely been something that a lot of teams have been slotting in later in draft. A lot of people's into it. You can pick it very early on, and I'm on that front. But happy to slot it in here, and this gives AXIZ the opportunity to counterpick it or swap the Ziggs into that lane.
You can play relatively safe with the ultimate. You've got a lot of ways to pick between the Viego and the Ahri. You've got a lot of resets for chase down, and you fail the dive right now for AXIZ, there's going to be a lot of rundown. And speaking of mid lane options, I know Fudge said in a sort of joking tweet recently, all mid laners are playing as Ryze and Ahri right now. But Vex Hecarim is a disgusting combo, and it's straight back to the Ryze. You've got abilities to build tank, you can throw rune prisons, you throw a lot of abilities out all the time. Not an unsurprising lock-in, but it does leave us with that blind pick top unless something really weird is happening in draft.
Yeah, I mean, with the Thimble Winter build that we see on the Rise, becomes more of a facilitator for teams to find really easy damage points with the use of that Rise Rune Prison alongside with Leona. So we might be seeing...
Yes!
Okay.
Yes! Weird things in draft! That's what I wanted!
No, it's not, because I don't know what's going on now. My whole brain is broken immediately. I'm shattered. Couple of things that could be happening here. Number one, biggest strikeout, Draven top lane, potentially.
It's a possibility. That would be very the shy. All right. You know that, like, I wanted to make this reference at least once, because obviously the Pokemon games where you try to pull out your bicycle at some point, and Oak goes, you can't ride that here. There's a time and a place for everything. You're basically telling me there's a time and a place to pull off drafts like this. Is this the time and the place for AXIZ to throw the bicycle out the window and scream League of Draven?
I think... Oh my god, I don't want to say it's happening. I think it's Rise top lane.
Okay.
They're trolling us with their swap orders, which I don't appreciate. So the big thing here is that we're seeing they're all doing it. Fantastic. Okay, so Paz is going to be on the Sun. So the Sun's definitely going top. We can ensure that. And that means that Sengoku has opted for a very linear forward walking comp, right? You see and it is Draven top lane. Okay, so well, I mean, at least our first game is a spicy one. At least it's a little bit spicy. So yeah, we get Draven top lane. Incredible lane bully. Easy stacks against the Sun. I don't know if Sun's going to have contention points to fight him in lane at all. So there's going to have to be a lot of reliance on once to help mitigate some of the pressure that Draven's going to have in lane. When you combine that with the comp they have, I mean, it's so mid-game spiking. You think of one item Ziggs combined with Leona and Hecarim, and suddenly this comp, especially when grouping begins, going to become a real struggle. However, you do have an AD carry in the side lane, a bit lack of, like, no dash AD carry as well. So I'm very eager to see how Tol2 can navigate the early and mid-game and make sure he doesn't just, because I feel like this is quite a feast or famine playstyle.
Okay, so I feel like you're going to have to run the Ghost. That's been the thing we're seeing in top a bit more, because you've got to want mobility. Yes, Blood Rush is movement, but I don't think it's going to be enough otherwise.
Yeah.
We're coming onto the Rift right now, so of course we'll see how it does. Junglers, what are you doing? Supports, what are you doing? You're going to have to roam top. We're going to have to see as much focus towards the top as we can. I feel Hullbreaker is probably not a bad thing to have on Draven. So there's a world where you just hit a point of like Immortal Shieldbow plus Hullbreaker, and you can just sort of laugh your way through lifesteal tanking through everyone who tries to jump you.
Absolutely. Those 12.5 nerfs haven't hit yet, so they're happy to build it on these ranged champions, and it gives a lot of defensive stats to help enable you in longer fights and longer laning phases. So we'll look towards Tol2 as he's, by the way, opted into Ignite. Just want to let you know that one instead of Ghost.
Oh.
Full aggression coming in.
You know what? Yeah. Tol2, I respect you. I respect your willingness to kill or be killed for the cause.
In response to that, I really appreciate what Paz has done here, and he's opted into Spellbook as well, because just like the Ornn matchup when Ornn goes against range, he's just decided, I'm never going to get Grass procs, I'm not really going to get Phase Rush against the Draven, I'm just going to go Spellbook and take an Ignite myself and potentially look to counter that aggression. So immediately you can see the trading coming through, and Tol2's really going to try and restrict the CS in the first 3 waves.
All right, you can see both junglers here as well, clearing towards the top lane. You can see where the AI has mapped out the power spikes. Paz is going to take a lot of autos at these early levels, forced off wave without the half HP, and I just don't think you can touch this wave. You've got to wait for it to get shoved in and then use the decimating strike, because you're just having no fun otherwise. The only thing I'll say now thinking about it is, with the stand aside, I think you can probably knock Sion out of him charging his decimating strike. So I'm not even sure you're going to have that as a trading tool as easily.
Well, when it gets disrupted, it actually gets him put on a reduced cooldown. So it's going to be the opportunity, even if he doesn't get that first Q off, maybe he'll be able to find a second one. But yeah, I mean, it's a good point to make. And I'm worried for Paz in terms of how much he'll bleed in the early game. Because obviously once are here and Swamp, maybe they're able to find leads either way, but right now, and if these junglers can't touch this lane, Paz is going to be suffering quite a bit, because you see this wave shoving. It's only going to get worse from once this wave crashes on the turret, unless ones can make it in time.
I wonder whether you have to actually max the Soul Furnace as well, as once comes round, he's going to be off vision. This is just a straight up gank. You should have known this was going to be a thing. Tol2's going to try and get the kill anyway with the Ignite. Flash, surely he's going to come through, and he won't even use it. He dies. The stacks are gone. Paz has burnt Flash, but that is a very simple gank on what should have been a very obvious play.
And it's a very big win as well for Paz. All of this CS that was being shoved in that he was going to be potentially losing to the pressure from Tol2 gets completely reduced. He gets to pick up the CS for free. Because Tol2 opted into the Ignite, he now has to return to a lane where that wave is going to be slow pushing back in. This gives Paz the time to reset, pick up some defensive items, and look towards TPing back into lane. So
Swamp does at least manage to steal away the Raptor camp that once skipped to try and cheat the timing there for Tol2. And he does get to come back to lane, not lose too much yet, because at least the wave was shoved in. That said, it's still first blood onto the Viego. It's still some stacks that have gone down the drain. At least it wasn't after like 5 minutes something when you've really put the stacks down. but that is not what you want to see if you're pulling out the supreme spice of a Draven top lane.
It's maybe not those first 3 levels I think are really pivotal for range versus melee matchups, because now he's got a Ruby Crystal. I mean, maybe he'll suffer even more. It depends what the Draven opts into build. So build's going to be quite exciting because Draven's got a couple of builds. Whilst Crit is obviously the common one, there's a lethality build that pops up every now and then. And when you look at the comp that he's playing against, other than the Scion, it's actually a rather squishy comp that he's looking towards. Maybe he finds the opportunity to go into the Eclipse build that some people have been really eager to play into.
Completely agree. That's definitely a thought. It might not make the best for the side laning, but bluntly, that might just not be the angle. The angle might just be, I'll get as much free stacks as I can off this top lane, and then I'll convert it into blowing people up as NT's just roam top. We talked about this already. He's going to be here with the Nautilus. Tol2 completely left out to dry, throws the stand aside. Still not going to be enough. NT will help Paz secure another kill, and Tol2 is dead in as many moments again. Twice now he's fallen to ganks and roams.
And Paz should be setting up a little bit of a freeze here as well. He thins out that wave just enough to get a reset in. This wave's going to slow push back into him afterwards. So Tol2's in a really tricky spot at the moment. Whilst he still does the flash gang coming in mid.
Chet is going to have to try and flash away. He'll get devastating charged backwards, and that is AXIZ on the board. They get a kill onto Megaman. They get the flash out of Jet, who's already burnt the teleport. So this might actually give them a little bit more free reign to look into invading things like the Krugs. So not a bad response there from AXIZ, and a necessary one considering things had started to fall apart a little bit. And in fact, they might even look to potentially set up for a dive here onto Paz. The Ignite will be back up. This is potentially doable.
I wonder if they got spotted on those initial minions there as they're starting for the dive now.
There's a devastating charge chained up. There's no teleports. This will be just a straight dive, knocked out of the devastating, the decimate rather by that stand aside rather. And it's not, unfortunately, the Draven that picks it up, but they do kill off the Draven, and sorry, not kill the Draven, kill off the Scion rather, and make a little bit of a response up there. Will allow Wants to get in and steal some wolves, though. Won't really be able to get onto the Gromp, I don't think, though.
No, maybe not. I mean, he does have the priority with mid-wave, so even after this, Swamp hits level 6, that won't be happening. No skirmishes yet until he hits 6 himself. Whilst that top lane dive comes in, so we've seen 2 ganks against Tol, 1 gank for him. Actually, in his favor, he's still got a 10 CS lead. I mean, that's just the nature of range versus melee matchups. But gold, I would love to see how, because it looks like it's relatively even for both of these players. Remember, Paz actually picked up one of those kills through one of those ganks, so he's probably fine sacking. I mean, I feel like you're already in a decent spot against this Draven if you get past those first 6 levels.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I wanted to ask you, was, is even good enough? Because I'm not sure it is. Not for a Draven, and not for this kind of matchup when you're going for a volatile top, range versus melee carry as well.
I mean, when you look at the comp that's served towards him as first Drake gets picked up by Sengoku, it's a nice mountain Drake to start off the game, nothing major. I think people always want to opt into the Ocean or Inferno if they can. When you look at the comp that's serving this Draven, even if he comes into mid-game, even if he has some stacks across the board, this passive is also a fantastic mid-game spiking tool. If he can come in, pick up a single kill off a fat load of stacks that he's managed to get against a farming Scion, maybe considering the comp and the ease of which it can serve up skirmishes, this could be a contributing factor towards Tol maybe hitting a mid-game spike, and then that being a point for this team to suddenly roll ahead with some very heavy physical damage from an AD carry.
All right. Speaking of mid-game spikes where you might be able to cash in, Herald tends to be right at the beginning of that list as it stands. 8 minutes is here. Swamps around. There is an onslaught of shadows. There is a whirling death. I don't think Sengoku are going to want to contest, especially if you look at your minimap. You can see once just popping into the red side jungle of AXIZ to drop down a wall. They just don't want to deal with this. And whether you got Severum and Crescendum, you can definitely look to get a plate. But that Mega Inferno bomb means it's only going to be the 1 and not the 2 right now. The joys of global wave clear ultimates.
And I really like the priority on this Herald, because with Ziggs, it makes first turret such an easy tool to pick up. I'm hoping we see Swamp rotate down to bot side as quickly as possible, because when you combine it with a satchel charge, it can lead to some very devastatingly quick first turrets, and they can really open up for some lane swaps, get Sanctuary into mid lane, or better still, get Toll 2 in a lane where he can play to multiple skirmishes as the unstoppable charge.
Okay, well, that is the Scion Express coming into the station at top lane. Won't be able to pick up an additional passenger there, though, and Toll 2, rather. I was going to say Dicey, that's very much the wrong player. Does not decide to board that particular bullet train.
He does hold the freeze, though, so going to pick up a little bit of CS as Jets.
Oh, Jet.
He's fine.
Okay. He's fine. There's no solar flare. Not yet. Oh, Dicey might not want to think about this one. Speaking of potential people coming to be picked, and that's NT and Dicey knowing exactly where each other are right now.
Or not knowing at all.
Yeah, but they both put a ward over the wall and went, wait, that other person's there. Can I actually do this?
Yeah, exactly.
They know that ward's there. They can't do much about it. There's no Scryer's Bloom, so Swamp will clear out this control ward. NT, rather, will replace it in the Tribush to the side of the lane and call it out as well with the pressure towards topside, which I don't think I was necessarily expecting with the players involved. Well, maybe that was a lie because Toll 2 was on the other team. I should have known, really. You're seeing Honey has got locked in that Cull really early on. Already got 60 stacks off it. And Honey that gets to free farm, Honey that's got to play, Honey that's going to cash in a Cull. Speaking of mid-game spikes, that sounds like a pretty good one to me.
I mean, I think picking up the Cull as early on in this lane as possible, you know, you get before Ziggs hits his one item, because once he gets Ludens, this lane becomes so irritating to deal with, and it's right around that lane swap period of time as Tom's trying to putting up pads a little bit. Yeah, it gets really scary. So picking up hopefully a Cull, maybe just dealing through the laning phase.
There's an Ignite available here. You can think about this. Yeah, that's a right choice to back off there. Yes, you've got Thornmail, but I don't. Sorry, not Thornmail. Bramblevest. There we go. A bit of a step before that. But there's the Ignite. He's just going to go over the time on the tower. Flash from the Whirling Death. Tower shots! No, he gets out. There we go. Just about gets away with it. But it will be the flash out of Paz in trade for the Ignite. It will force a reset out of the Draven, though. And the mid lane tower comes through. There's a solar flare that lurks. Jet up slightly on. So the shadows will force the RE to flee back the other way. Spirit rush over, though, and the horse is going to be turned into glue. Viego now with the resets. We said about the turnaround on dives being extreme. They're going to continue to go. Jet hopping forwards, looking more like an F50 than a Fox right now. The satchel charge will knock Jet alongside Sanctuary.
So many resets. So many resets.
Get all the resets. They get absolutely everybody but Toll 2, who's back in base after failing a tower dive.
It's nightmare. So first turret gets picked up for AXIZ and it looks so good, but a little bit of miscommunication means that this dive goes somewhat awry, and we're going to see it play through here. And keep eyes on Swamp as this dive's going through, because really, Mega Man and Sanctuary, especially after the solar flare gets burnt, they're waiting to kill the turret first. But before Swamp can complete his rotation, before he can get that charge off, NT stuns into the charm and picks him off, and this is the turnaround point. Then Jet gets 4 bonus dashes here. You can see here really struggling, trying to find the damage onto Sanctuary, and because of the assist on the Leona, gets the extra dash to dive Sanctuary onto turret to kill him, to then dash out on the other side. Fantastic from Sengoku to really understand their boundaries and deal with over-aggression from AXIZ.
Absolutely. It's like you just turned up to the AXIZ coffee store and said, here, I'd like to redeem all these free resets. You're like, you know what, I'm going to get a stamp on this one, another dash, stamp on this one, another dash. Like, you literally fed the 2 members who are going to be able to, like, basically, you fail the overdive, as we said in draft, you fail the overdive, and you basically just, like, say, here, have like every dash under the sun. 3-0-2 for once. 2-1-2 for Jet. 2 of your hardest snowballing carries in the league. One of the most dominant jungle mid 2v2s in the league. That is not a good sign. That swings the gold 2,000 gold into the favor of Sengoku Gaming. You've got the Gale Force complete onto Honey, who didn't even have to turn up because he's nearly cashed in a cull as well. And I don't know what to tell you, Oak.
It's just across the board wins for Sengoku. So triple mythic picked, actually, sorry, 4 mythics picked up now. Every member other than NT has a mythic. And so we get to see Sundra on the champion. We get to see What's the champion called? Viego. Oh my god, I
There
can't
you
believe
go.
it slipped my mind. My brain just...
I literally went to go
Whoa.
check out something quickly. I want to go check the cast to chat to me. I didn't miss anything important while you were chatting away. Listen to the background, then you come and you pause. I was like, I can't tell you. You're not pointing at anything. You just like stopped. Like, what did I miss? We're going to see a Hex Slash. That's what we missed right now, is Dicey does have an Eclipse Shield, so he'll be able to back away. Nothing more to be found as yet, but once is prowling on the side. Does miss that, but now he might have to think about getting out of here. There's an Ignite that comes through down from Toll 2. And it's the Heartbreaker that was popped to allow the escape. But passes around the outside, they could still think about diving if they were really, really feeling it. But instead, they decided against it down. He sees down about half HP. But just look at the vision control. The control rules to the left and the control rules to the right. Sengoku, if they felt like it, could absolutely just turn over to this Herald. And it would be absolute darkness that AXIZ would have to walk into.
Yeah, all that priority on picking up those couple of kills. And, you know, that 2k gold lead, as you mentioned, has led to a lot of vision control. And it was orientated a lot more towards this bot side as they were looking for this bot lane tier 1. But they've rotated it very swiftly towards their top side as this is spawning. And you can see they're starting it here. And looks like the other members are resetting. They see that AXIZ are opting towards this bot side tier 1 instead and looking for resets. So they should be able to pick this up for free. And finally, Mythic's bought on the other side as well. So double Everfrost from mid laners. Nothing new here, really. Very standard as we come into Herald gets picked up by Sengoku. So mid lane tier 1 potentially falling, but also they've got this wave shoving on top side as well.
They do, and you saw Swamp trying to see whether there was anything in Sengoku's jungle to find in that blue side quadrant. Absolutely nothing. Finds instead a Scion, and that's going to be Once in trouble, who will try and flash, but he's going to get CC'd straight afterwards. A shutdown going the way of the Hecarim, and he says, "That's my jungle," which is appropriate considering his name.
Brilliant. Shrek references.
I did,
you know, kids nowadays, I can't be talking. Toes caught out on boss
Kids
side.
these days are looking for tower Daves, Oak, is what they're doing. But that's a massive whirling death. Won't quite find the execute, though. Oh, that would have been the worst thing to have possibly happened. But Honey's coming over. Could maybe look to turn this around. There's a binding eclipse and Dusk Wave.
Doesn't even need it.
And does get the kill. Honey, I shrunk the health bars. It's my reference every time.
That's awful. I'm going to use that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, the TP comes in mid, but he still has a satchel charge. He's going to pick up the turret.
Oh boy, that's Dicey and Jet about to find themselves in a 2v2. Make that a 3v4 as Once, NT, and the Hecarim turn up to make this one happen. That'll be the run behind Megamin is here as well, because Swamp get out alive. Toll 2 still dead, not around. Honey now looking to see whether he can find the damage. He will have a Moonlight Vigil. He'll find an auto into the Binding Eclipse. He's going to throw out a missed Moonlight Vigil. Hexcase to try and escape. Once comes flying through. Megamin going to try and fly his way out with a blast going, but is slowed down enough by the Gravitum autos to allow him to be claimed. It will mean mid lane falls as well, and Sengoku find the better trades here across the map.
Actually, looks like mid lane doesn't fall on this wave, most likely falling on the next one, as we see Sengoku taking this to completely sweep out the vision through top side, as well as hopefully get some early rotations towards this Drake. Now, we do see a late recall from Paz combined with them, so they're not opting to this mid lane turret. Instead, I'm assuming resets will be coming in swiftly to try and get on this dragon. Under a minute timer on it now, and yeah, those two initial kills were fantastic to continue this gold. And you see this here. Sangchu really desperate to pick up this turret. They get the satchel charge off, but it means he's missing his mobility for this fight. Dicey flashes in front to protect him, but at this point it's already doomed for the side of AXIZ as they get outnumbered, and even with the realm warp come in, and you can see on the side, unable to find the successful fight. A lot of disengage options come in, but because specifically Honey has the Gravitum, they have so many easy pickup points, and they pick off Megamin here. A lot of summoners are burnt. Even if the ults miss, it doesn't matter. You've got the damage on the board, and they pick up Megamin.
Yeah, unfortunate stuff there for the side of AXIZ. Sangchu back to the mid lane, going to try and clear out this as best he can, but with the Herald, there's just nothing you can do. That will come down, and yeah, that's just a spectator bug.
Oh, there we go, yeah.
Alongside some teleporting there, don't worry too much about that. The tower did fall, just a little bit of lag on the graphics. Allows for mid lane pressure, allows for mid lane priority. It will allow Sengoku to move over and secure Soul Point as well. just look at those items right now. It's a Medjai second for Ari. Nymera will be best pleased. He believes it should happen every game on Ari. And you can sort of see why when Sangju gets taken down to practically no hit points, and they're going to try and turn this around anyway. The onslaught of Shadow is good, but they can't secure anything. Dicey falls down. That will be a body reset for ones who can start using Leona's kit. They will finally get a cash in, and it's a shutdown to boot as Tol2 gets Ari but dies in trade. Now Paz can think about hopping forwards and have to bring the energy back down, because all for all that they picked up a kill, and it is for the Draven. They still go down the additional member. They're still down the soul point. And that is a very terrifying Viego, who is at 5 kills now in this game.
And we're going to see immediately jump into the replay. And the big thing here is that SG have completely sequestered blue side vision. So AXIZ take desperation, try to get this shoving through here, but it's Jet starting the fights first and completely chunking out Sangchu as key here. Whilst keep eyes on Somp here to try and find the engage. Unfortunately, only gets the pick off of the Paz, the tankiest member of SG. And even though finally this Whirling Death picks off Jet right at the back line, big shutdown as you mentioned, goes in the favor of Sengoku. And yeah, as you mentioned, soul point incredibly quick as well. 18-minute soul point, so we're looking towards that 25-minute soul. And Hex Tech Drake is no Drake to laugh at. I think even after the nerks to Chemtech, it was the highest win rate Drake soul, and very, very good now still.
I'm not sure it counts as nerfs when they just inactivated it, Oak. Like, that's not nerfs, that's just like,
I meant if we can think way back when to 12.2.
Oh, okay, I see where you're at. I was thinking, nerfs. I don't think removing something from the game is strictly a nerf, but removing this Draven from the game will certainly count. A little bit of vengeance.
TP came in as well.
Oh, Mega Min's going to have to try and find their way out. Does have a Realm Warp and will be able to get out of there. But can the side of AXIZ do anything more to stop the shove coming through? 1-5-1 right now with the Draven. This pick, this spice has really not worked out.
And it was through this early game, right? They failed to find the people to navigate the Draven through the first 5-10 minutes of the game, and it really spelled doom for this individual pick that they end up going towards. When you go for these cheesy meta picks, you need to understand completely where they sit in your comp, and they just didn't have the right mindset for it. Now, Sengoku, after picking up that individual kill and the Realm Up as well, they're looking for the Baron.
That's the Whirling Death to come and chunk people out. The unstoppable force comes through. That's right, unstoppable onslaught. I apologize. The onslaught of shadows in turn comes back through. Got to get the name of those ultimates right now. The fight continues. There'll be no way for Megamin or Dicey out to double for Jet, who'll pick up all the Medjai stacks he needs. He'll be at 10. He'll have the ability to have all that movement speed, and he can look for more souls to add to those pages. Sanctuary over the back is still a poke threat, though. Can you continue going? Jet throws out the Spirit Rush. Still 2 stacks available. Tol2 looking to find something.
The Hex Flash.
The Nautilus. The Hex Flash does go wide, but Tol2 will fall for the 6th time this game, and Swamp and Sangchu must retreat. Can't come back. Surely the HP bars are so low. If only there was a Mega Inferno Bomb. There is. Could still think about it. Could throw that ultimate down, but they just won't trust in it. They won't throw it out. There's just not enough mana. Look at the pool.
It also came up literally just a split second after that Baron was taken, so Sanctuary in no position to contest it. Such a shame for this team, and fantastic calls here from Sengoku to repeatedly use this Baron to force AXIZ into them. They know they can't take the 5v5, so they pick up one individual member. You can see a Swamp desperation play to try and get a successful fight, but these two, the kill onto the rise, and we see Tol2 again aggressing too far forward. And look at Sangchu's mana right now, unable to properly affect this fight because he's playing with such a limited pool here. And whilst he's getting a couple of Qs off, this lack of vision combined with his lack of mana means that Tol2 and Swamp are basically playing by themselves without any engaged tools. NT comes in with a really fantastic flank to ensure the Draven dies, and it leads to the Baron.
1-6-1. We called it out already. 1-3-2 for this rise. And yes, your Hecarim's doing okay. They'll throw out a Solar Flare that goes a bit wide. But I'm looking on the other side. I'm looking at the Medjai stacks that have come right back in for Jet. I'm looking in at Honey, who's quietly, of course, cashed in that call a long time ago, is at 2.5 items. Viego hit for Blade of the Ruin King 5 minutes ago. It's looking all but done right now. You can hear the fat lady warming up her vocal cords already.
Honestly, just specifically key here, I want to mention Honey going to this Bloodthirster. I won't be able to. The engage comes in, unstoppable onslaughts.
Is through, and that's just so much damage. That Draven had no chance, and the soul is claimed. That'll be another ranged carry for what's be able to use on the tower. They'll be able to continue shoving through mid. Just look at the gold discrepancy. It's nearly 10,000 gold. It surely will be after they pick up that tower in the bot side, which they'll rotate over towards. Maybe Swamp can punish the slight retreat here, but he just doesn't do enough. You're onto a Nautilus at this point. They just don't have the damage.
He just really sad to see something. This kind of we love these kinds of picks to come in, but it's done so little. It just wasn't handled well this game. It hasn't done enough this game, and it's the heavy bleeding through this top side has really been the main contributor to AXIZ falling behind in this game. And finally, Cell gets picked up completely uncontested. Unsurprisingly, the mega death bomb. I'm mixing up ultimates
it's
there.
Mega Inferno Bomb and Super Mega Death Rocket are the two. It's been done before. I've done it before, and Swamp is about to find himself in a 1v3. NT can look to Hex Flash over the wall, and I don't think there's many ways for this Hecarim to find a retreat. Megamin is going to get potentially caught out here as well, but it's a good flash. Actually, maybe you can turn this around onto Jet, but there is the Hex Gates coming through into activation. Thank Jace and crew over in Piltover for those. It's allowing some very rapid transit around the map, and it means Dicey falls. Swamp somehow extricated himself from the red side jungle of Sengoku Gaming, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, one member still gets picked off. His Toltu, I think, is also caught. Oh, he could be looking for it.
You're 2 levels down. I don't think you win this. Listen, Gelfos, you do not win this. That is chakrams. That is several crescendum.
Oh, dude, I was going to mention as well. I think Honey has done a fantastic build here. Sanctuary's completely caught out. I'm going to just talk over whilst he gets run down.
Just keep going. Yeah, there's going to be like some B-roll for you. Okay, he gets away.
Exactly.
I know Megaman's here, but Jet's going to come around the other side. I think that's probably still a very dead Megaman. It has started. You're never going to get to talk about this. Jet's still hovering around the outside. Okay.
There we
You've
go.
got like 10 seconds. Be quick.
He's built BT, and it's really good because you look at the damage coming out from AXIZ, and especially with the Straven being so far behind, it's not plentiful, is it? To be honest, and this really enables them to find a lot of success in these longer fights and to find really good jewels like we saw in the top lane. They're trying to siege out this tier 3. In the top side right now.
I feel like he could have had any other second item there that is vaguely damaging, and the result would have been very similar. I'm not sure what the Bloodthirster was a deciding point.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I see your point. I see your point. I completely agree with it. I'm just also aware that this is a very sad Draven who is
a whole item behind.
There's a lot of words here. It's not really a League of Draven so much as a sort of like League of Draven supporters. Like Draven's Anonymous, like, hi, I'm a Draven top lane player.
I'm here to disrupt Sengoku.
Yeah, that's basically it. What is my purpose? Disrupting Sengoku.
Oh my god.
All right, well, we've got the coming through. Everyone's going behind. It's time. It's a last attempt. Dicey goes forward, gets knocked up. There's a charm coming through. They might finally get a kill, but NT has still got a stopwatch. And now the resets can start potentially coming through. Jet gets one, pulls out another charge. The Unstoppable Onslaught continues forward. That's the Onslaught of Shadows in turn, but it's still going to be a triple kill for Jet, who is continuing to hit about Mac. 5 in this game, 22 kills to 4. It is an absolute slaughter, and Sengoku Gaming will move towards second in the standings.
A clean ace coming out from this team, and we expected it. The early lead they found punishing this Draven was oh so supreme. They play off it perfectly. What a fantastic, as you mentioned, to continue their placement in second place. And now I'm immediately, my mind's going, well, you know, before we run this team numbers, well, now actually we need to make sure that Crest Gaming follow up in their match now to make sure they can also maintain second place. These standings right now where they are, yeah, this is gonna be a good day to watch.
It absolutely is, and gotta call it out. That mid lane dive at tier 1, when you all go in and you literally seed 4 members having already failed a tower dive top where your Draven gets out with 1 HP, is not what you want to see. It's not what you want to give medals to. The Viego and the Ari, who literally spent the rest of the game redeeming those free reset stamps. What an incredible loyalty scheme that AXIZ was running this game.
It was really playing on the knife's edge, but the wrong edge, if you know what I mean. Like just
a very
hopelessly
sharp
falling
edge.
up.
Yeah, you cut
very
yourself on
sharp
that.
edge. Really cut themselves on it, and the Ari came out so good. And yeah, to be honest, also I would like to give a little bit of respect to Draft. I think just not drafting Draven top lane really helped Sengoku navigate themselves through mid game, as they had this. Paz did such a fantastic job of just being this Omega tank that this team initiating fights and just being there to soak up as much damage as possible.
Absolutely, but enough of us rambling on. We're going to cut to a quick break, catch our breath, and Middlecop will return with us afterwards, help break this game down and look towards future matches. See you in a moment or two.
Welcome back, everyone, to the analyst desk after that pretty rapid game, Sengoku versus AXIZ. Gentlemen, we saw some interesting picks in draft from AXIZ, namely that Draven top. Oak, you've had a bit of experience in top lane before, Red Gaming 2-time MVP, from what I've heard. What did you think about Togsu's performance this game?
I don't think his isolated performance was that bad. I think it's specifically how he and his team played around each other. When you bring in something like the Draven top, you expect a lot of priority, and a lot of priority probably should be given to you. And it was failed. That wasn't really met. And in turn, I think it looked like Sengoku had the appropriate response to Draven, whereas AXIZ didn't really quite grasp what they were meant to be doing with it. And that honestly spells large to the game itself in terms of how these guys were playing with each other.
And I will give some credit to AXIZ. Sorry, not to AXIZ, to Sengoku. There we go on this one. Because obviously the initial gank is off once, skipping a camp to cheat the timings a bit and get a catch on the Draven.
That's true.
Yes, there probably should have been an early ward. And then yes, probably what you do is you have your Hecarim ward afterwards to keep up consistent vision control. It might hurt you in other areas of the map. But if you're running the Draven, you need to make sure he knows what's going on. That said, once does come through and gets the kill, but it doesn't burn flash. It's early on in the game. You don't lose that much in the way of stacks. You kind of just deal with it. The other one is NT on the reset timing comes up with a Nautilus, turns up top lane and gets a second kill. And that one, again, is a little bit of just not reading support reset timings properly. And that is what often punishes a lower end and mid end teams in whatever league you look to is, can you track what the support is doing on resets? If you can't guess he's roaming top, have you ever watched how the LPL of one works?
That's a great point that you make, Initialize, because it was adaptation that it felt like Sengoku needed to do quite quickly in that game, and they did it very well. And I think that was a bit of a theme throughout this entire game, was AXIZ would try something. They'd overextend a little bit. We saw this a couple of times in mid, actually. But then Sengoku was so good at responding, understanding that AXIZ were making a mistake, and punishing them appropriately, Oak.
Yeah, it's a mix of both. I think Sengoku were definitely on the ball to make sure to disrupt Hecarim during its key. Hecarim is really key timings in terms of getting that combination where he does the onslaught of shadows and then pulls an enemy team member back into his team. But also AXIZ were using different tools to secure different objectives. So while Swamp was repeatedly looking for these fights, and this is how these two dives played out. Swamp looks for the dive as his turret's being taken, but in the first one, the solar flare's thrown out randomly 5 seconds before the fight starts, because they're fishing for something, but because that tool is gone, as well as the satchel charge being used to pick up the turret beforehand, they don't have enough CC tools to help the Hecarim find that engage, and it happens not once but twice. And I think Sengoku appropriately punish this mixed aggression coming from AXIZ, and I think, yeah, with the Ari specifically, once that initial kill's found, they can just repeatedly just walk forward. And we saw it in drop. We knew it was coming already. But the power of this moving forward comp was so strong. They played through it so well.
And then once they did get those early advantages initialized, the closeout was so clean for them, picking up the Baron, getting a mid in here, rotating into Drake, grabbing the soul. It felt very by the books from them at that point.
It did, because I think at least up until that point, I felt like AXIZ could still play it. Even the Draven, they managed to dive the side, and he wasn't that far behind, hadn't lost that many stacks. Nearly got that solo kill on the top lane tower. Like, it was looking like, okay, this is still playable. But the moment that mid lane falls down, Sengoku got the lead, and they don't let it go. Once and Jet are very good at snowballing. You know what they can do once they get the leads. It was an issue for once last year, where he couldn't get the snowballs rolling, which was unusual for him. This year, it's not been an issue. He's on a Viego that gets to 2 items early. You've got an Ari that gets a Magi second, gets to stack it up as well, and that becomes another threat. You've got Honey, who starts Carl and cashes it in and is also at 2 items early, at which point the points are power in, and you've already got a better front-to-back team fight, and the only way that AXIZ can play is going into you with things like the Hecarim and the Leona. Well, great. Those are free resets for Viego, who can steal your body and use your rotations against you. Just a straight basic rotation for Leona. It's absolutely busted to allow you to set up for another heartbreaker. So the snowball starts rolling with a comp like this, and it's really hard to stop from AXIZ. And you saw it; they just collapsed.
And do you know what? Credit to AXIZ, they never really rolled over. They were constantly going for these engages. They were constantly trying to fight themselves out of a bad situation, but eventually weren't able to make it happen. We are going to be going to a short break now, but stick around, because coverage of Rascal Jester versus Crest Gaming Ac is coming up after the break.